hunter. So again, bring all your friends, bring the guests, bring the comments, because again, we got pro shooter Ryan Johnson here. We're going to do some introductions here just real shortly. But tonight is the night for questions. We're going to be talking about mule deer scouting and prep for your mule deer hunt this coming fall, as well as a lot of pro shooting style stuff. Now, obviously, everybody who knows me knows I'm not exactly the best archer out there. I definitely am good enough to get it done. I hunt very well with it, but by no means am I good on paper or anybody you'd see at the range. And that is what Ryan Johnson's for. I overwhelm him with questions right before hunting season, getting really tuned in for a lot of the tech stuff. That a lot of times are overlooked. So again, we'll kind of bring that on there. So again, we're joining us with Ryan Johnson, pro shooter, with all those questions.
1 second here. I'm just about ready on Facebook.
Again, bear with us here 1 second. Just getting logged on, getting everything set. About 30 seconds from taking off.
I think we're good.
All right. Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much to Bowtech for letting us live every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern for everybody here in the Rockies region, the heart of our big game hunting. 8 p.m.
7 p.m. Pacific.
7 p.m. Pacific. Sorry about that. So 7 p.m. Pacific. Again, thank you so much, Bowtech, for letting us go live. You're also watching this on the Diamond Facebook page, as well as Tightline Outdoors and Nate Zielinski. Now, you've been joining us every week here to follow this big game scouting experience to make you all better hunters and more successful in the field this coming fall. It's different this week. I've got Ryan Johnson, pro shooter, here with us, and it's a great time. I'll tell you, we're also in a different location. We've been in studio for the last couple shows, walking through all that, but if you see behind me, if you can see through the glass, we are literally in the heart of some of the best mule deer hunting in the Western United States, if not the country. I mean, there has literally been a handful of 240-inch mule deer killed literally in the valleys right behind me. So I know a lot of people are upset right now. They're saying, man, you're blowing our spots. But again, it's just one of those things. So we're actually up here, me personally, doing some mule deer scouting, so we wanted to come live from this area. Also, a huge thanks to our very gracious host for the evening for providing their Wi-Fi power and really the heart of this mule deer hunting. We're here at the Taylor Park Marina. So you guys got to check that out. If you come into town, the Taylor Park Marina, they rent boats. You can literally do a lot of hunting from the water. Now, again, a lot of people are getting mad about the secrets. I did a lot of my scouting in the last couple of days from a boat. So you can rent a pontoon, rent a boat, get in some of the country that is literally untouched for some of the best mule deer hunting around. So again, it's all Trailer Park Marina. Huge thanks for them for hosting us tonight. And again, it's all about mule deer tonight. We're also going to cross over into the shooting portions, guys. We've been holding off on this. We've talked about broadheads, talked about equipment, but really tonight's when we're starting to get really fine-tuned in this. We're going to start off talking about mule deer, and as we start rolling into it, we're going to talk about the more optimal situations to become a better shooter, and more importantly, taking your target-style shooting into the woods. We're talking about shooting different target angles. There's a lot of different things that you can do to be more successful this coming fall. So as we get into this, we're going to be talking about that. So right now, make sure that you tag your friends, comment. It's all about the questions. If you comment your questions below, we're going to get those tonight and we're going to answer. So again, talk elk, talk big mule deers, talk about anything shooting-wise. You have questions about tuning your bows, paper, anything like that, knock travel. Ryan right now is the guy to answer those questions. Again, a pro shooter of Bowtech. So make sure you comment there. Now, we're going to start off talking about mule deer. That's the heart and soul of the topic tonight, just because we're in this amazing place to do that. We're going to talk about Ryan Johnson, who lives up here in the area, does a lot of the hunting in this terrain. I visit the terrain every couple of years when I get a tag up here. But again, the heart and soul of some of the biggest mule deer around. But also, after we talk about that big game, or the mule deer scouting, we're going to talk about all your questions of becoming a better shooter. So again, thanks to Bowtech, but make sure you comment below as we get started for the evening. Now, Ryan, again, you've been a shooter your whole life.
Yes, sir.
Talk about college opportunities for shooting, just to let everybody know that the background that you have.
Yeah, I shot competitive all through high school, had ambitions of shooting collegiately.
Yeah.
I was trying to go to Texas A&M and then met this cute little blonde. she was a year older.
Changes everything.
She didn't go to Texas A&M,
Yep.
And so here I am. College, work, family, kind of not necessarily hung up archery. Still hunted, but didn't shoot competitively as much. Picked it back up the last couple of years and kind of ran with it. It's been fun.
Awesome, guys. And literally an amazing shooter. And you shoot all styles. You shoot 3D, you shoot paper, you're shooting a lot of different stuff. But the main reason I want to have you on, we talk to a lot, we work at the Bowtech with some of the best shooters in the world.
Absolutely.
I love your crossover into high country hunting. Now, we do all styles of hunting. I mean, from lowland to whitetails on the prairies to all this high country stuff that you're seeing behind us. I mean, 13, 14,000 foot peaks. But you've really crossed over that margin of taking your amazing shooting qualities and bringing it into the hunting world. So we're going to talk about what we're looking for to find this. But more importantly, again, it's a huge crossover because I don't think people realize the situations you get in some of these mule deer hunts, whether it's shooting at severe angles up or down or awkward positions. We're going to talk about how we hunt these animals, a lot of times even in their beds, and a lot of times you're forced to take quick shots or very uncomfortable shots that people just really don't prepare for. So to start off, we're talking about scouting for big mule deer. Now, the big reason why we saved this for now, again, we've been talking major focus on elk, talking about some pronghorn. We really saved the mule deer for now because right now we're literally in that summer peak to where you find bucks today, tomorrow, the next week, is more than likely the exact same position or close to it. The patterns that you're going to find are going to be true to where these animals are going to be at the beginning portion of most of our archery hunts in the western United States. Now, obviously, people are watching from all the different western states and really everywhere around. You're going to have this. What our general classification is of the scouting that we find today is while these animals are in velvet.
Yes.
That's a huge portion of what we're talking about tonight because everything we're talking about right now, the summer patterns for these big muleys, is going to hold true until basically they start rubbing off that velvet, and that's when you start to see them go into a different cycle. Again, a lot of these animals might stay in the same areas, but some of them are going to lose elevation. Some of them are going to start gathering up with more animals. Some things can change. Now, not always. I don't want to say that your scouting's ruined if you don't get your animal on the ground by the time that they're getting into hard horn. But the things that when they are in velvet will 100% stay true. Now, we see like here in Colorado where we're talking about these areas here, these animals are going to stay in that velvet till, September 5th, maybe, something like that, September 10th. When you start getting into the 10th or the 12th, something like that of September, you're going to start seeing these animals shed that velvet, and that's when your patterns somewhat slightly change. But again, right now, if you find this animal in a certain drainage behind us tomorrow, there's a very good chance in that exact same drainage come opening day of archery, you're going to have a shot at that buck. And that's why we wanted to stay now because really it takes till about right now where they really hit those true summer patterns. They start getting into the daily routines that they're going to hold over the next couple months to be successful. So that's why we wanted to talk about scouting today because everything you learn over the course of the next couple weeks or even months is going to hold true to the first couple days of that season. And more so almost than anything as we talk about scouting, these mule deer change quick, and that's one of the biggest things we talk about. So with elk, we have pre-rut, we have rut, we have post-rut. There's a lot of things that we're scouting, territory, animals, a million different things that we've been talking about over the course of a couple of weeks. But generally speaking, on the average elk hunt, you have some time. In an archery hunt, you might have 4 weeks, or a rifle hunt, you might have 10 days to get that animal on the ground in that time. A lot of times with these mule deer, you might only have that short window of 5 days, 6 days, depending on the season, before, again, they go hard horn and they start moving on you. So scouting is extremely important for these big muleys to make sure you can get it done in that time frame. Now, the two options for me personally, we're going to talk to Ryan, get his input, but for me personally, I have two options, just like we talk about elk and how you hunt these animals. For me personally, I hunt these muleys a lot of times in their bed, or I hunt them on water. Now, people are hearing this and they're starting to panic on me because they're like, hunting the beds, all we've heard for the last month is that you don't hunt animals in their beds. We do not hunt elk in their beds. Me personally, I never touch an elk in their bed. I never even get near their beds in the average elk hunt. On the mule deer hunt, I'm all about the beds.
Yes.
Again, these animals a lot of times are in such terrain, and more importantly, open terrain, that it's so hard to get a shot on these animals, a good, close, lethal shot, that you a lot of times ruin your hunt by trying to sneak up on these animals when they're open, as opposed to these animals will bed in the open. They'll bed in oak brush, they'll bed in open hillsides, as opposed to the elk go in the darkest, nastiest timber possible, and there's no chance of sneaking up on these animals. Opposed to the deer, a lot of times once they bed down, they snooze off a little bit more than an elk does, and really it gives you an opportunity to sneak up there, get close, and make that shot. So when I start scouting, I'm looking for these animals in this open terrain, in this stuff that I can hopefully find them and sneak up and make that approach. That's my number one goal. Number two, for everybody that doesn't have that option, I'm not saying that's an even option. We have a lot of stuff out here that's going to be optimal for that spot and stalk, especially around their bedding zones. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people out there in a lot of zones that even I personally hunt that are thicker that I'm never going to have the option to watch these animals, to watch them bed down, and watch to sneak up on them to get that shot. In those situations, I build all my patterns on water. Now, again, water, it's one of those things that you have to be patient. You have to be persistent. You have to pay your dues. But hunting water holes is another just absolutely amazing way to kill big bucks in any of the Rocky Mountain regions. But again, it all comes to scouting. You're going to have to find those water holes, whether that's a small creek. Now, unlike an elk or an elk will wallow, so you can really find those key areas for that. The deer are not going to jump in the ponds. They're not going to jump like they're strictly looking for a water source. So, I mean, you have little indentions in rocks. They're going to be sufficient to getting water for a deer.
True.
So you're going to have a lot more options of finding a lot more water and really try to build patterns of which water sources these animals are hitting on a routine basis to be successful. But again, thick country. If you can't glass the long ways, you can't pinpoint these animals bedding. To me personally, it's all about water. If I have open country, a lot of high country, for me personally, it's all about that spot and stalk and getting these animals in their bed. When I look for a unit, so the reason we're up here scouting, again, my wife and I are actually up here kind of making a camping trip, a whole family trip out of it. That's what we really encourage in the scouting, to get out there and do the scouting. We're actually looking for next year, so not the 2017 season. We're looking at the 2018 season. So our tags are going to be due in early April. In early April, this country right here is snowmobile access only. I mean, you have 20 feet of snow on these peaks in April. So everybody starts thinking about their tags 3 weeks before they're due. There's no way you're doing any scouting at that point in time. So we're actually planning for the upcoming season of 2018 to start seeing the bucks we're looking for and really plan which type hunt we want to have. So we're doing our homework for well in advance, but we're seeing some deer that I for sure, again, we're early off in the growing stage. Right. But a couple of the deer that I've seen in the last couple of days, I really wish I had a tag this year.
And we're all kind of holding our breath after this big winter to see.
Had a lot of snow, and obviously it's rough on the animals.
People don't quite know what kind of winter loss we had. So we're going to kind of wait and see this year what we have left.
What's available, absolutely. So far I've seen some animals. I think it's looking good. So we're going to talk about the actual tactics real quick before we move on to some other stuff. When we talk about putting an animal to bed, we're most cases trying to find. I personally am trying to find the highest country I can. The higher the country, generally speaking, the colder the temperature. The colder the temperature, the more out in the open these animals are willing to bed. So that's kind of the concept there. So just like elk, when you watch that previous live feed, we love to find areas that have a wide variety of elevation change. I love to hunt an area or a zone that has tree line, 12, 13,000 peaks, and also goes down to maybe 6,000 elevation, to where literally, as a hunter, I can pick and choose my entire options. And we talk about that. We're talking about going hardhorn. It really changes the daily routines of these animals. It changes their testosterone levels. It changes everything. There's times where these animals will go hardhorn above tree line September 1st, just rough dates. And then all of a sudden, the low country, they won't lose that velvet until September 15th. Yeah. So you see that in variation in elevation. So there's a lot of times where we're going to actually do a lot of scouting, cover the terrain. But if you are staging for an upcoming hunt in upcoming years, again, a unit that has a wide range in elevation is going to give you more options as a hunter. The areas that we're personally talking about and looking for, in this type hunt here behind us, is that big high country. So I'm actually seeking out, even though there's giant deer down in low country, I'm seeking out that high country just for the availability of, one, seeing a lot of terrain so I can see a lot of animals. Two, the cooler temps are going to make them bed slightly more open, giving me more options to harvest these animals when they actually do bed down. Now, one of the hardest things that I've done as a mule deer hunter is hold off. You see a 200-inch deer, the biggest deer you've ever seen, and he's walking around, he's just over a knoll. All you want to do is go put a stalk on and try to take the shot and get that animal down. But when that animal's up, he's way more weary. They're looking around. They're looking for the few predators that are up there, but they're on guard. And even though they're on guard when they lay down, so many times they bed, and all you see is that the top couple points of their antlers. I mean, they're hidden. I mean, it's up to you. If you just take your time, walk up, that bedding animal is 100 times easier to sneak up on than that animal when he's on your feet.
And you can get your wind currents a little more consistent.
Absolutely. Wait till that wind is absolutely locked in. Hunt them at noon, hunt them at 1. Those animals literally starting to daze off at that point in time. But it's important for everybody out there to know holding off is key. Everybody sees this animal, they get excited, we all get excited, and they say, you know what, I think I can sneak up on the animal while he's on his feet. You try to do it, and you blow your whole hunt. As opposed to if you let that animal bed down, you can sneak up on it. And this is what's going to lead to a lot of our shop talk here shortly. So I'm up in this high country, right? I see these animals now. You and I talked about how if you find the right drainage, they're going to stay from now definitely till hunting season. Yeah. And it's unbelievable how these animals might migrate 20 miles, 30 miles, 100 miles for their winter range, but how they show back up in these same drainages almost year to year. I mean, you talk to guys about, oh, hey, where'd you get that deer? elk, I'm secretive about a lot of my elk stuff, but the chances of me harvesting a big bull in that same area,
Not great.
very, very slim. As for the deer, you talk to your grandparents, your great grandparents, and they hunt the same drainage. You talk to some of the great pros. They have 5, 6, 200-inch beers, 220-inch deer, 240s, literally out of a half-mile long drainage. So again, it's a pattern that's repeatable. So we love doing the scouting, we love doing the prep, but don't blow them out. That's the moral of the story. When it actually is time to hunt these animals, let them bed down, get your wind right, get everything perfect where you can't see them, and then make sure that you're set for that right opportunity. And that's what we're going to talk mainly about, that opportunity. So in the average situation, like right now, I watch these animals bed down. Today, the last buck that I saw standing was about 9:15. 9:15, this animal went and bedded down. When he bedded down, very, very traditionally, all I saw were those little peaks.
Right.
I just saw, and again, right now they're very short in their growth, but I could just see antlers sticking up above the grass. So if I had to hunt this animal tomorrow, I would have a pattern. Hey, I know he's going to bed down roughly this time. I'd watch my thermals. Now, how do I get them in their beds? That's one of the biggest topics that we talk about. Is everybody's like, how do I shoot them in their beds? Generally speaking, it's a very short window. So you're going to have this animal bedded. You're going to get all your conditions right. Hopefully, it's not too thick of oak brush or scrub brush to where you can sneak up. But hopefully, you're going to sneak up, and then you have the moment of truth. You have a couple options here. You can, number one, wait until that animal stands up naturally. It's a great option. Problem is, you can always play the wind. Sometimes you might have to sit there 7 hours, 8 hours, and you always risk getting winded and blowing the hunt. You have the option of making noise, coming up, whistling, making a grunt call. You can do a lot of natural stuff. You can make bird chirps, and hopefully that buck would stand up and give you the shot. You have the option of making an alternate noise. You see this all the time where guys walk up, you knock an arrow, you get set, you throw a rock over the animal. The deer, the rock lands on the opposite side of the deer. The deer stands up and looks at the noise, not even paying attention to you, and gives you your shot. The reason I wanted to have you on for this show is because I can't tell you how many times I've made the perfect stock. I'm 20 yards away, everything's set, and I make my little, the deer stands up, I'm trying to get all set, I'm trying to get ready, or I throw my rock and I draw back, and I'm just getting ready, I just get my sight on there, and he bolts.
Yeah.
And I don't quite get the shot. So that's where shooting ability, again, everybody knows I'm a hardcore hunter. I don't shoot as much. You shoot 150 arrows a day every single day of your life. I mean, you call Ryan to wish him Merry Christmas, and you're shooting your bow to get your 150 arrows.
I did shoot on Christmas this
It's
year.
just what it is. And I admit, my failures are I don't do that. So that's where we're going to start crossing over into the shop talk of becoming a better archer to make the most of these situations. Because I do a lot of elk hunting. Lions, bears. I hunt everything there's possible. And I've never had more shooting issues than with the high country mule deer, or really mule deer in general. I do the same bedding thing in a lot of hunts. 2 years ago I did a hunt actually in a burn area. So I was hunting a burn unit in Colorado, and same thing. These animals are literally bedding in little ditches where water has, made little creases. It's just big enough to where they barely fit in it, but that's where they bed. And regardless, you do the same thing. You let them bed, you sneak up, you make the noise, they stand and you shoot. But so many times it gets tight. So real quick, before we're going to take some questions, and again, make sure you ask your question. We're going to get to the questions here in just a couple minutes. Any questions you have, mule deer, elk, and more importantly, shooting techniques or concepts, questions for Ryan here, make sure you ask those questions. So again, bring your questions. We're going to get to them here in just a second. If you're just joining us, again, I'm Nate Zielinski, Ryan Johnson, pro shooter here for Bowtech.
Where are we?
So right now, we're at the Taylor Park Marina, just outside of Gunnison, Colorado, home to literally some of the biggest mule deer in the western United States, if not the world. Again, you talk about the unbelievable score of a 240-inch deer, they get killed, literally, right here. Don't hate me for showing the spots, but it's dynamite. Some of the biggest deer that you're ever going to see come literally out of the valley behind us. And again, our gracious host, Taylor Park Marina. Again, they rent boats. You can do your scouting from boats. Again, this can be your hub of your upcoming hunt. So again, make sure you contact Taylor Park Marina for all that type stuff. So, Ryan, I got this big buck bedded.
Okay.
It's time to make a quick shot. In the situation of the biggest concepts of hunting mule deer, number one, a quick shot, fast. Acquiring that anchor point. How do I get into the repetition of making that quick, fast shot? And number two, severe angles. I can't tell you how many times I have shot at these deer bedded literally over my head and shooting straight down. Things that, we go in our backyard, right? And we shoot this minor angle. We're like, oh, we're good for angles. We're set. I don't think we ever get in the situation of Like, is my arrow going to stay on its rest? I'm shooting so downhill.
Right.
Walk us through the difficulties of some of these mule deer hunts real quick and how we're going to overcome
I
those.
think obviously the first thing a guy can do is put himself in that situation before season.
Yeah.
You go find a cliff and shoot off of it, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean it. A little off topic, but last year I shot my elk sitting flat on my butt.
Yep.
I had never shot in that position in my life.
And
I always shot off my knees. I was literally taking a nap under a tree, and he walked out. And I'd never shot that before. It was weird. So go shoot it, right?
Yeah. I mean, and these deer hunts, I mean, there's so many times where they're bedded in open stuff where you're crawling.
Yeah.
I mean, you're belly crawling. There's times where you have to draw almost, from flat and, come up and, I mean, very awkward situations. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Your sight, your level on your sight's going to be huge. When you get on these angles, your level is paramount.
How many people check their level before every shot? I know half of the viewers, they live by the level.
Right.
The other half are like, do I have a level on my bow?
Well, and the other thing is,
because I've been on both sides.
Most people are going to set their level when your bow's flat,
Yep.
right? But if you're not familiar with bows, there's second and third axis is on your sight, and if your second or third axis is off, when you start hanging downhill or uphill, you're going to see a big difference, especially the farther you get.
Absolutely. So let's say a severe angle, just real quick. So everybody listen to this. Again, the whitetail guys that are listening to us right now are being like, yeah, we're hunting tree stands. We're on top of it. So many of the Western hunters are like, I've never hunted a tree stand, hunting a ground blind.
Right.
How much angle? So we're going to take a 30-yard shot at a severe cliff-style angle.
Right.
What does that do to my arrow? Where's my arrow? Is it high? Is it low? What speed? What's affecting that?
You're going to cut, there's kind of an old myth that you aim high when you're pointing uphill and you aim low when you're going downhill. It's not true.
Not true. Definitely not true.
You're going to cut yardage both ways.
Yep.
It's essentially the old triangle, right?
Yep.
You shoot this distance, not this distance, right? And modern rangefinders have helped that.
No, absolutely.
I mean, rangefinders have taken all the guesswork out of that piece of where to hold what yardage to hold.
Absolutely. Now, my other question to you, because that's a great topic to bring up as your rangefinder, the last couple of mule deer hunts I've been on, I definitely tried to get my range, but I spooked him too early. He ran and he went opposite. I have a perfect level shot. After I spooked him, he ran, from 20 yards, he ran to 50, and now he's uphill. Just real quick, what is it? 30 yards, severe. I'm going to lose. I'm using a pin half down, 10 yards shorter.
Yeah.
Just a rough number. Again, we're not quoting it. I know the hardcore archers are like, you can't just guess, but...
Yeah, if I had a 30-yard shot like that and I couldn't range him and I had to guess, I'd probably put my 25-yard gap on him. And
perfect.
You're going to get him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because generally speaking, it's always low. It's just going to be how low. Lower is better than high, absolutely, in both situations. And also with that, again, we're not talking about shot placement. That's going to be a whole other episode for us when we go live. But in those severe angles, for everybody that doesn't do it, you have to think about where both lungs sit. You have to say, okay, if that deer was level, I'm going to be putting it mid-body. Here's my average lung length. At that severe angle, where do I have to put that arrow? So many people end up hitting their animal high and one-lunging these animals in those severe shots on both sides, but more importantly, shooting down than up. They usually almost always miss that first lung and hit the opposite lung, which can sometimes lead to never finding that animal. So always imagine in your head where both lungs sit. And generally speaking, you're going to be lower on that animal than you want to be in a downward shot to make sure you clip both lungs. But again, it's just little topics like that. Now, shooting fast. You're talking about angle, talking about shooting off of a roof. That's the thing that I do. Everybody says go find a cliff. In reality, we're all kind of lazy. We're putting all our emphasis on scouting. I always bring my bow on a scouting trip, so when I do find that situation, I try to take a shot. Yeah. But, I mean, I personally shoot off my roof. That's the number one place where I train for my vertical shots. I climb to the peak, tallest pitch of my roof, and I literally put my target down below me, and I play with it in that situation. Because for me, as a busy person, that's the most realistic situation that I can do almost on a daily basis. So, again, find the severe situation. Climb up the tree in your backyard. Try to find those shots. But again, you don't have to go out in the woods. Make it easy on you, and you'll figure out those angles. But I promise you, the angles are always going to be more important than you ever think they are. They're going to contribute to a success or an unsuccessful hunt, more importantly. Now, before we take questions, the last thing, shooting fast. The main reason I talk about this, I was at the range the other day. I'm playing with some stuff, doing some new testing, and I'm watching these guys. And I agree, they're shooting paper. There's no need to rush. But you see guys that are literally holding on a target for 20 seconds, 30 seconds.
And I'm one of those guys in a tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
And without knowing it, you've kind of opened up a can of worms, because the target guys are all about back tension, hinge-style releases, relaxed shot, and sometimes it's just not practical in a hunting situation.
It's just not, and that's where, you don't want to be the guy that's punching the pin, on your release,
Right.
But so many times you are presented with, literally once you're drawn back, you have 2-3 seconds to make that shot. And again, we're always never we never want to rush anybody and have an unethical shot. It's all about making sure that animal, gets what it deserves and make sure that you put that animal down quickly. But so many times it's going to revolve around success rate of a more, speedy shot. What's the trick to train for that? How do I acquire my rhythm, my muscle memory, my repetition of being slightly quicker in preparation for the hunt? I'm not saying do it all the time, but I oftentimes try to train myself of, hey, this is dry. My first arrow of the day, you see a lot of these one-shot challenge stuff, and it's important. My first arrow of the day, if I draw that quick, literally find it and shoot, am I successful? Where does that first arrow hit? How do I become a quicker shot more often?
And it all comes back to reps, right? Okay. But if a guy or a gal can't go hit the range every night, but you got 10 feet in your garage, throw a bag up and just what they do, blank bail is what they call it. Don't put a target on it, just something blank, and just focus on getting in your anchor. Just do it over and over and over again so that you can find that anchor without thinking about it. You don't even want to think about it in that situation. You want to just know that you're hitting the same anchor spot every single time. What I do, I don't know about you, but in that situation, I draw my bow before I make the noise or before I throw the rock.
Always try to. My problem is I never throw the rock. That's the problem. I, generally speaking, am the rock thrower. I can't say that I'm athletic. I love the option. When you make the whistle, that buck comes up and all you see is eyes on your face. I mean, it's 100%. You are busted. Right. So you have that split second. A lot of times they stand up and it's just like, there you are, and they bolt. And when I watch the biggest deer that I've been scouting for 6 months run away, I go into panic mode. When I throw the rock, if I can throw far enough, I love when they stand up and they are looking away going, what was that? And I have all the time in the world because they are 100% focused away. Sure. I love the focus being somewhere else. And that's where I always run into the problem because I throw the rock and I'm trying to, and I'm nervous, I'm watching the rock and I can only focus on one thing. So I watch the rock land, I watch the buck stand up, then I'm like, put my release on.
And I'm a big fan of, not to contradict, but I'm a big fan of waiting the deer out. And I know there's a...
Absolutely, and that's what we talk about it all, because everybody has to find their style.
But in my opinion, most of the time the deer, as the sun moves across the sky, it's going to start baking on him in a different way. Even if he's not getting out of his bed, he'll get up and turn around and adjust, usually within a couple hours. So if I feel like my wind currents are going to be consistent, I'll wait him out.
Absolutely.
If you're in a swirly spot, then sometimes you got to take a chance because he's going to blow him out.
No, and all those situations are important, and that's where really, to be totally honest, a thorough scouting trip like we talked about in our very first show, that scouting thermals is as important as scouting animals. Absolutely. And I mean, every time I'm in these ranges, you're watching the clock and you are checking the wind nonstop. I mean, I'm a big fan of smoking a bottle. That's my wind preference of choice. I talk to people that literally, I'm like, hey, how long have you had that smoke in a bottle? And they're like, oh, it's my 3rd year. And I run out in a day. I literally have to refill my smoke in a bottle every day because I'm that guy that I just puffing nonstop to check that wind. And that's the thing where when you're scouting, watch those animals. It's July, June, July. You can watch them and say, okay, hey, that buck he moves 3 times through the course of the day. Right. I mean, you can know this stuff before the season where you don't have to make that judgment. You can say, hey, that buck on average, every time I've seen him, he stays the whole day. He doesn't move. Right. So, that option. And what are your thermals? Do you know your thermals? Is that deer edgy? And we all know this. All these animals are going to build a personality. Again, I know that we're asking a lot of everybody, but a thorough scouting trip to learn the personality of these animals is huge. Every animal I've ever hunted, elk and deer in the western, situation, they've all had a personality, where... I mean, you have these big bucks that are literally scared of their own shadow. I mean, literally a bird flies by 100 yards away, and they are in full panic mode trying to figure out what's going on. You have these other bucks that I literally have watched sleep as coyotes have walked past them. Yeah. And they're all going to have that personality, and you really have to understand the animal you're hunting to be successful.
That's why I'm a big fan of finding an area that you can hunt often. Yeah. Instead of waiting that 18 or 20 years to draw that once-in-a-lifetime tag, I'd rather hunt an area every 2 or 3 years. And sure, you're going to mess up a few bucks that first year, but you're going to learn. Like this little coulee where they lay, the wind swirls. And that stuff stays constant.
And you will stay year to year. And I can say that, again, not preaching the high country, because I know a lot of people don't have access to high country. But if you have access to tree line type hunts, there is 20 units in Colorado that have tree line hunts that are oftentimes over the counter. I mean, you literally can go buy a tag, 8 hours before you go hunting. And get out there, and that's the type of units, and they have giant deer. There's just something about tree line. Not that many hunters hit them. They have more security. I'm not saying that every drainage is going to have a big deer, maybe like some of the units we're near now, but most units in the Western United States, if you have high country available, you can find good bucks and a unit that you can hunt more than likely every year. And that can be important to the scouting and learning curve to be more successful. And that's the thing with the high country or the high point units. Again, a 1 in 20 or a 20-point tag. Most people, it's so far from their house, they're not scouting it, and you're only hunting it once in your lifetime. You don't get to know it. As where you can take a mediocre unit, learn it well, find the nooks and crannies for those big animals, and get it done. So, all right, guys. Now we've talked shop. We got Ryan Johnson. I'm Nate Zielinski with Bowtech. We're gonna take some questions. So again, right now's your time. Comment more questions. Devin's gonna bring in a couple questions right now. But again, right now, send us your comments. Talking about mule deer, talking about elk, talking about shooting. Bring those questions right now. We're going to go live and answer your questions to make you a better hunter. What we got, Devin?
You ready?
We're ready.
All right, first question. Do the weight of Luminox affect accuracy much? Probably a good question for Ryan.
Yeah, you know,
It's new to Colorado, so everybody that's watching from the East Coast, we are brand new to Luminox. We are just catching up with the world. We are known for a traditional state here in Colorado where we're coming live from. Your home, my home. Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great
and
thing.
so to that end, I never shot them before last year. And I put a set of them on last year, and I hit about 8 inches low at 50 yards with the Luminox. I don't know if it was, there's a couple things at play here, right?
Absolutely.
So you're adding not a ton of weight, but you're adding a little bit of weight to the back of your shaft.
It's more the balance that affects
So
anything
it's
more so than the overall
Right.
weight.
It does two things. So it's changing your front and center on that arrow, and it's also, it can affect the spine of that arrow a little bit. Anytime you add weight to your arrow, you're going to weaken that spine. So you've got both of those at play, and then also the knock fit.
Yep.
You know, if the knocks you're shooting all summer fit kind of loose on your string, and then suddenly you snap one on there and it's really tight, that arrow's going to fly different.
That's good. A lot of people don't think about that. Literally, he's talking about the tension around your string, inside your loop, or whatever you're shooting. How that arrow stays on there.
The perfect knock fit for a target guy, and I think it carries over to hunting, is you want that knock to snap on, you want to hear that click, but then you want to be able to slide it up and down the string. Okay. If it's so tight that you can't slide it.
That's your tip right there from Ryan Johnson. Hear the click, but still have adjustment up and down. I mean, that little stuff goes a long way. Right? I mean, right now, I can't tell myself, I'm like, I know mine clicks, but I can't tell you if it slides. I mean, the little stuff goes a long way, so make sure.
So I think Luminox are very consistent. In my experience, they fly a little different. So if you're going to use them, practice with them.
Practice with them, absolutely. Now, is that something where we're paper tuning with these? We're going to talk about paper tuning later, but is that important to paper tune with a Luminox, or how much variance are we going to have?
I don't think you're going to see a lot of difference in the tune of your bow.
Okay.
It will, like we talked about the front and center and the spine of the arrow, it can affect it a little bit. Okay. I don't think you're going to see the effects of it until you get out maybe 40, 50 yards and beyond.
Perfect. Excellent. All right, Dan, we got another question. But again, while we're getting to the next question, a Luminox, the concept of recovery of an animal.
I love it.
Knowing, hey, my arrow blew through. Hey, my animal's running off with. I mean, there's a million things that I would say, yes, it's going to lead to a more successful hunt because finding that animal is ultimately what leads to that ultimate success.
And the responsibility of the hunter once you've made that
absolutely. Shot. You understand the concept a lot more of what's going on after you take that shot. Absolutely.
All right, you guys kind of hit this, but practicing from the ground or elevated, we kind of hit that. It kind of depends on the situation. So let's jump to the next question. And these guys kind of talked about this before the show. What are your thoughts, mechanical versus fixed?
Absolutely, and this is great because you have both sides here.
So we talked about this before.
I am the biggest traditionalist in the planet. I am all about a fixed head, and I'm also about a cut-on contact head. Yeah. I mean, I want to be a warrior throwing a spear. I mean, I want... So when I'm a kid, right? So my dad was active in getting me hunting, but he did not start big game. He started bird hunting. He used to drop me off in the woods. So I met an old-timer. He's still out there. I mean, his son, I hunt with him. He's watching right now. We're talking about bow speed, and we're talking about broadheads. And he's like, hey, in the perfect world, your arrow always goes through. He goes, but in the rough situation, he goes, it stays in there. He goes, do you want a head this big making a mess? He goes, or do you want a spear inside there just literally grinding everything inside the animal? And I'm like, I like that.
And that's my total Uncle Stan, who was killed more elk than probably both of us combined.
I mean, that's it. So I'm all about no failure. I don't like electricity because you forget to charge it, things go wrong. I'm all about having the big gas engine. I'm all about having the fixed head. I'm a traditional guy. It's just who I am. Now, I can tell you that technology has totally surpassed where I'm at. Because when I guided for those 11 years, again, I've seen 220 bulls hit the ground. I saw so many mechanicals fail in my life, and that's what's brought me to who I am. Is any of that technology when I first saw that out now? No. Everything's been advanced from when I saw all the failures.
And I'm right there with
I
you.
have that bad taste in my mouth, so that's where I stick to the traditions.
Like you, I guided elk hunters for a handful of years. I haven't seen 220, but I've probably seen 100 or so. And I remember the very first mechanical I ever saw. It was like a cheap Walmart something. The guy that actually owned the ranch had kept a cow tag for himself. And we went out and we shot a cow like the night before the hunters came in or whatever. And he pounded her. He hit her good. And we watched her. It took that cow an hour and a half to die. And he thumped her. And so I'm like you. I was always kind of anti-mechanical. Just
whether the blades are breaking off and they don't open up. But again, technology's coming. We talked about that before because you have made the switch.
Yes, I shot the hypodermics the last couple of years, and when they changed that little collar, they're not coming apart in my quiver anymore, and they just kill stuff, man. I killed a bull a couple of years ago with them. I shot clear through both ribs and buried in the pine tree, that far behind him. And I only shoot 60 pounds. I'm not a big high pound guy. I like to be able to draw my bow back and hold it.
Absolutely.
So they work great for me.
Yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, everybody obviously is going to have their push point as far as manufacturers of the head.
Sure.
Everybody has their selling point. Unfortunately, it's all going to come down to your situation. Are you hunting, a whitetail with this much feed to make its hide and fat this distance? Are you hunting, an elk that's in a winter range colder that's already put on winter hair that's going to be thicker and thicker hide? I mean, there's a million situations that are going to control that. Really, it's going to be what you shoot great, what shoots great out of your bow, what you have confidence in, and really, hopefully, the performance in your situation with your animal and the material you're shooting. Hopefully it works out for you, and that's one of those things
and the
that
bow
a lot goes into it.
People forget about that. I'm a big guy. We're both big guys. We have long draw lengths. We get a lot of kinetic energy just because we're big guys.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have my wife shoot a rage probably. She can't pull a lot of weight. She's got a short draw length, and the energy that it's going to take to open that broadhead would really hurt her.
Absolutely.
In my opinion,
you're not going to get the
but
overall kill.
She's also not getting the speeds that gives so many guys troubles tuning broadheads either.
No, absolutely.
So she's going to be able to shoot a fixed blade.
I mean, that's it. And, I mean, honestly, that's what led me to Bowtech is I wanted the traditional head. That's what literally drove my entire archery hunting season. I was so stuck on I want this fixed head, and Bowtech made the only smart bow that I could literally shoot a high-speed fixed head cut on contact head. Everything else that I was out there shooting, you could not tune enough to shoot these giant, spearheads that you can shoot with a Bowtech because you have that ability.
Favorite thing is the split cables.
Yep.
I mean, I know that like the flip disc and the micro sync and all that kind of stuff, guys like because they're easy to tune. But the split cables give you the ability to run that arrow straight down the middle of the bow,
that's it.
and it helps. It's
adjustment. You can adjust it literally to fly perfect. All right, next question.
All right, let's do one more, and then we can kind of talk about paper tuning. What is the best way to balance a bow without adding too much extra weight?
Man, that's tricky. On my target bow, and there's a balance of how much stabilizer do you want to pack in the backcountry, right? There's a give
and it's
there.
big now. I mean, you're seeing quivers, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, my target bow's got a 34-inch front bar, and I run two 15-inch back bars. It looks like a contraption, I like to balance my bows where I hang them from a hook, like hang it by the top cam from a hook, and then balance it left and right and front and back where that bubble sits perfectly in the middle.
Okay.
That's where I like
That's it.
Again,
as a target shooter, you're in the norm. I mean, everybody does that. As a hunter, I'm like, I've never shot the competition bows. I don't do that type of thing. And again, a simple tip right there. Hang it from the top cam, from a hook, balance to where you're going off of your bubble. 100% your bubble, left and right, front to back. Everything's perfect.
Front to back, you're always going to have that front. I mean, you'd have to put a ton of weight on the back to get that sucker to come over. But left and right, when you draw that bow back, you've got the tension on it. Now you've got your front to back.
Perfect.
But if you want to put a little side rod on there or something, just hang it,
level it up,
get it level. That's where I like it. And it's individual. Some guys might like it a little on the right hand side or a little on the left hand side. Find that sweet spot for you, and that's where you want it.
Perfect. Absolutely, guys. Great questions. We're going to wrap up tonight's shoot about paper tuning. Now, guys, this is one of the things that you've watched my personal tech tips where I'm in the studio talking about paper tuning, talking about the adjustability. If you haven't, make sure you go to the Bowtech website. Again, we walk you through 100% every adjustment you can do that makes this the smartest bow out there, where you can literally do this 100% at your house. Very, very simple. So again, make sure you check all those tech videos on the website. But right now, we've been fielding literally question after question online after these segments and private messages about paper tuning. There's a lot of people that have made the jump they paper tune nonstop. I mean, they literally shoot. And they're like, hey, something out of whack, let's check it. And they paper tune. You have other people that are scared to death. When you talk to them about paper tuning, they're like, is that like going to the moon? I mean, they literally think they have to go to the bow shop. They think it, and I'm not blaming them. I mean, I'm not a techie guy. It's one of those things that I want to talk to you about paper tuning because you paper tune a lot. Everything that you shoot flies amazing. I mean, you're all about the most amazing flight you can possibly have. So we want to talk to you about paper tuning. Number one, obviously, you can go to your local pro shop. They're going to walk you through it. They're going to help you out. What if I have to do it at my house? What if it's the night before the season? Something gets wrong.
Well, if it's night before season, I hope you're not paper tuning.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, things happen. All of a sudden, and it's usually me, but I let one go fly fast. I hit it too soon. Whatever. I'm not worried about back tension, and I get that funky flight. A vein rips. But all of a sudden, in your head, you're like, did something go wrong? And that's usually my problem because I have it adjusted before the season, and I always get, I'm in camp, I get that one flyer, and all of a sudden I have zero confidence going to the woods the next day or the next week.
Well,
how do we do it? There's
a couple things before you get into the paper tuning. If your arrow isn't spined to match your bow, or you're having a contact issue, it's never going to tune. It doesn't matter what you do to the bow. If your arrows are too weak or too stiff, or you're getting a little clip somewhere.
And we were talking about that last week about trying to find the heavier side of the perfect flight.
Right.
Again, because we like to have weight to have that kinetic energy and have that killing power. But again, it all comes down to having that perfect flight.
And the thing that a lot of people overlook, in my opinion, is the front of center.
Yep.
The ideal 11 to 13% front of center is going to make those broadheads fly so much better.
Perfect.
But paper tune is really simple. If we just want to start from square one, if you've never done it before, the whole concept of a paper tune is you stretch a piece of paper, a piece of newspaper, whatever it is, whatever you got, stretch it tight so you can see how the arrow is ripping through the paper.
Yep.
Get back, not very far, like 2 or 3 yards. You want enough distance for the arrow to completely get out of your bow, plus a little bit.
Yeah, just has some flight.
Yeah, so we're close. We're 3 yards away, right? Best form we can, right? You want the loose grip. If you tweak your bow, you're gonna get a tear.
So no torque.
When you shoot, you want your hand to follow through, all that kind of stuff, right? You'll be able to see in the paper how that arrow flies. You'll see where the point goes in, and then you'll see the little star where the veins go through, and that'll tell you if you got a left tear, right tear, height tear.
And we walk you through all the tech videos, what to do with these tears.
Right.
Right tear, left tear. We walk you through all that. So again, we can spend an hour talking about this. More importantly, how do I stretch my paper? Where's the simple things?
So they make little jigs and stuff for them, right? I just screwed some 2x4s together in my wood shop, and I've tuned 100 bows on it probably. You could...
I'm really talking to this guy last year before hunting season, and I'm like, I got to go paper tune my bow. It's raining outside, and you're like, I do it in my hallway.
I do.
He stretches his paper across doors, make sure it's a clay, in the garage.
Send your wife to the grocery store.
You staple a piece of paper on the door frame.
Take some tape and tape it up. It doesn't have to be bomb-proof. It's just got a hold while an arrow flies through it.
Absolutely.
So,
But again, paper tuning right there. The little things. But again, talking to the pro, talk about arrow balance and more your arrow first, and then your paper tune. Because again, people misconstrue why they're not getting the correct flight.
Yeah. And if people want to take it one step further, they can research it online. But if they go to a walk-back tune, it's something that everyone can do in their yard.
Okay.
It'll just take it one step further, and you'll get that much better arrow flight if you do a walk-back tune after you paper tune.
Walk-back tune after the paper tune.
It's super easy.
Starting to get a little techie, starting to scare me a little
Walk-back tune is super easy. Just make sure it's dead calm when you do it. Any little bit of breeze is going to kill you.
Absolutely. Perfect. Now, guys, we appreciate your comments. Again, we come live to you 100% every Monday evening at 7 p.m. Pacific, and we'll walk you through all this. It's all about big game scouting. Now, guys, we're going to bring back into the elk scouting next weekend as we continue kind of with the prep, but we're going to start walking about actually finding the animals. So far in our elk scouting, it's all about terrain. We've been learning about the bedding areas, the feeding grounds, all those type of situations, as to where now, as we start approaching in July, we're starting to actually watch the animals. We're starting to see antler growth. We're starting to see what's dominant, what's not dominant. So make sure you join me next weekend as we continue our scouting for elk and general scouting rules to make you a better hunter. Also, a quick reminder, make sure that you are you're checking out all of our broadcasts live on Wednesday evenings, guys. We have Chef Collins as well as Randy Newberg. Great shows to watch. So again, it's all about going live on Wednesdays. A huge thanks to Bowtech for letting us take over their live feed as well as Diamond and putting us on their website there. So again, make sure you do that. Again, tag your friends, share this post, make sure you connect to all your other friends, hopefully make you a more successful hunter. Also, a huge thanks to the Taylor Park Marina for hosting this live feed. Again, right behind us, You can see the sun going down, some of the biggest mule deer in the country right behind us. We're bringing it to you live right from the host in the center of this valley, again at the Taylor Park Marina. And huge thanks to Ryan Johnson answering those. Guys, thank you so much. We'll be seeing you next weekend live here on Bowtech Facebook page.